looks like there was a total of approximately 24 people at the crime scene before my arrival.
And it was important for you to determine whether any of those people had been in the general area of the crime scene. Is that correct?
Yeah, I made that determination.
And had any personnel been inside the general crime scene area?
Inside the tape?
Inside what you would describe, do you know what the general crime scene area is in police parlance?
Yeah, that would be inside the security, the area that's secured.
Okay. Were any officers inside that area before your arrival, according to what you determined?
Yes.
How many?
I would say 6 or 7.
Are you familiar with a man by the name of William Bodziak?
Yes.
Is he one of the experts that have been employed by the prosecution in this case?
Yes.
And he's a member of the FBI?
Yes.
And is he one of the leading experts in the country on crime scene investigation?
I think his specialty is on shoes. I wouldn't say crime scene investigation.
Footwear impression evidence?
Yes.
Have you read his books?
No, I have not.
Would you agree?
Premature at this point. Haven't heard the question.
Would you agree as a part of your education?
Counsel, how can I tell the question, would you agree? How do I know what's coming? I'm saying it's premature until I hear the question, counsel. I can't guess what the question's going to be. Mr. Shapiro.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Would you agree as an expert in crime scene investigation that you should not allow anyone, including other law enforcement personnel, into the general crime scene area except when it is necessary to tend to victims?
What's the objection? What's the objection? Sustained.
Would you agree that a crime scene should be secured immediately?
Yes.
Is that the most important thing to do?
Yes.
Is that the first rule of thumb for crime scene investigators?
That's normally not done. That's the first rule of thumb for uniformed officers, yes.
It should be done, but it's not done.
No. Normally, investigators are not the first on the scene. It's been my experience in 26 years, the uniform is there first. They secure the crime scene and notify us.
Aren't police officers all trained personnel?
Trained in what, sir?
Well,
Of course they're trained personnel.
Basic crime scene investigation?
Definitely,
Would that be
yes.
something elementary? That what happens if you arrive on a homicide scene, what to do?
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's just common sense, isn't it?
Certainly is.
And would you agree that a crime scene should be sealed and no one should enter it except to tend to victims?
No one that's not involved in the investigation, yes.
No, no one should enter it except to tend to victims. You can disagree with that.
I do disagree with
You
that.
disagree with that. And you've told us you haven't read any books by experts in the field. Have you consulted experts in the field as to the proper procedures regarding entrance into a crime scene?
Have I consulted experts? I've met with many experts over 26 years, yes.
Is it very easy to disturb things within a crime scene?
Sustained. It's vague.
What are the dangers of entering a crime scene if you're not trained properly?
Destruction and contamination of evidence.
And when you're dealing now in the area of DNA, you're dealing with minute pieces of evidence, aren't you?
Ultimately, they're minute, yes.
Sometimes microscopic.
Yes, that's correct.
Sometimes they can't even be seen under a microscope.
I don't know. That's way out of my field of expertise. I really don't know that.
Didn't you learn about this in your continuing education?
Want to learn about doing testing on DNA?
Wait. You're arguing with the witness. He says some things you can't see. All right?
What is the importance of footwear impression evidence?
Sustained.
Are you familiar with the term footwear impression evidence?
Yes.
Have you ever read any books? Well, first of all, do you know if there are any books written on footwear impression evidence?
Well, I'm sure they are a collection of evidence, yes.
And that would be something that, to be a homicide investigator, you have to have a broad knowledge of lots of things, don't you?
Yes.
I mean, you have to understand basic forensic pathology.
That's probably a fair term, yeah.
You have to understand the basic workings of a criminalist.
Yes.
You have to understand fingerprint analysis, both latent and patent.
Yes.
You have to understand footwear impression evidence, both latent and patent.
Well, I'm not sure that you have to. You have to know what you're looking at, what you're seeing. Yes, that's why we have experts that assist us in these investigations.
And you direct the experts, don't you?
We point out the items. They do the collection. They do the comparisons and so on and so forth.
But
I don't do that.
You're the one who's walking by with a magnifying glass saying, "This is what I want to preserve."
Like Sherlock Holmes with the magnifying glass? No. Yeah, yes, I go into the crime scene to acclimate myself to the scene, to know what's there, so I can direct the criminalist when he gets there for the search for obvious evidence as well as latent evidence that may be there.
Well, you said two things that are interesting. The search to know what's there.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that are there are not apparent. Isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah, that's
And that's where your
definitely true.
expertise comes in. Isn't that true?
What are we talking about here? Fingerprints?
Things that are not apparent.
What? I mean,
Anything that may not be apparent to somebody who is not an expert detective like yourself.
I don't know what we're talking about. There's things that are not apparent here on this floor. What are we talking about?
Well, let's say you were investigating a crime scene and something happened here. Would you want to cordon off this area of the floor for any reason?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
For a examination by a criminalist, for trace evidence, for whatever may be there.
What about footwear impression evidence? Is that something that has been emerging in the last 5 years as becoming very important in crime scene investigation?
I think it's something that's been around for a long time, longer than 5 years.
When I say emerging, that there are recently developing new techniques to find latent footprints,
Yes.
to find footwear impression evidence.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I sure do.
That if somebody stepped on a carpet, that there are now techniques available to determine what shoe was used to step in that area, even though you can't see anything with the naked eye?
Well, I'm not sure about carpet. Normally, they lift those from hard surfaces, not porous surfaces like a carpet.
Have you read any materials in keeping up with the scientific literature on what impressions can be drawn from carpet?
Is there any carpet in this case?
Yes, in 2 locations.
Proceed.
No, I haven't.
This is the first time you've heard about that?
First time I've heard about what?
That you may be able to get very valuable evidence from carpet?
No, it's not the first time I've heard that.
So I take it any area that there was carpet in, nobody would be allowed to go in.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
If there was areas in a crime scene that had carpet, would you prevent people from going in there?
Well, I would prevent anybody that wasn't working the crime scene from going into the crime scene, yes. But to investigate a crime scene, you have to go into a crime scene to investigate it.
But you have to go in carefully, don't you?
Extremely carefully,
And
yeah.
you have to be aware of where potential evidence is.
Absolutely.
And if you're not aware of where potential evidence is, you could destroy potentially exculpatory evidence.
That's a possibility, yes.
And protective clothing is very important with the advancement of DNA collection of evidence, isn't it?
Sustained.
Are you aware of what is recommended for collecting and preserving DNA evidence?
Overruled.
I don't do the collection and testing of it, so no, I would have to say no on that.
You're not aware of what should be done.
I just said no, I don't do the collection or the testing of it, so no, I'm not aware.
Well, before you get to collection of evidence, it can also be destroyed or contaminated by even somebody as expert as yourself going into that area. Isn't that true?
Oh, that's always a possibility, yes.
And for that purpose, it is recommended, is it not, that footwear protection be used before entering a bloody crime scene.
Grounds. Sustained.
Are you aware that professional standards require investigators to wear footwear covering when investigating sensitive areas where DNA evidence may appear?
Grounds. Sustained.
It's obvious, is it not, that if you walk in with dirty shoes that you may contaminate a crime scene. Isn't that true?
If you step in the evidence, yes, it is.
And if you had dirty shoes, that you may bring trace evidence from outside into the crime scene. Isn't that a possibility?
Again, if you step in the evidence, yes.
What if you walked into a crime scene, walked on a hair outside and walked in? Is there a chance that hair could be moved from outside inside?
Say that. Say that again, please.
You walk up to a crime scene and there's a hair that you can't see on the sidewalk. Is there a chance that hair might stick to your shoe and then you carry it in and it can be discovered inside the crime scene?
Speculation. Sustained.
What effort does it take to wear footwear coverings?
There wouldn't be much effort to it, I don't think.
Is there any reason not to?
No.
Is there any reason not to wear head coverings in a crime scene?
No.
Is there any reason not to wear coveralls or other protective clothing in a crime scene?
No.
Is there any reason not to wear gloves within a crime scene?
No.
Are these things that would be overly burdensome to do?
No.
When you went through your training at homicide school, wasn't one of the first things you were taught that when you enter a potential crime scene, don't pick up the phone?
Yeah, that's a basic rule, yes.
What's the reason for that rule?
Because you may have the telephone used by the suspect, you may have fingerprints on it, you may have trace evidence on it.
What about using any of the facilities within the crime scene? Turning water on or off?
That should not be done.
Putting out candles?
Nothing should be disturbed until the investigation is completed.
Did you determine whether any of those things were done in this case?
I found out later that the telephone was used, yes.
And that shouldn't have been done. That's the violation of
That shouldn't have
the
been
most
done.
basic rule of crime scene investigation, is it not?
However, in this case, the house did not appear or was not related to the crime scene. There was nothing to indicate that the suspect had ever entered or anything had ever occurred in that residence.
So your opinion today is the suspect in this case has never entered the Bundy residence?
Oh, no, I didn't say that at all. It didn't appear that any aspect of the crime had occurred within the residence itself.
When you start investigating a crime scene, you don't know what you're going to find, do you?
Absolutely not.
Therefore, everything is potential evidence, isn't it?
Yes.
And proper procedure would dictate following proper rules, would it not?
Yes.
And if there was evidence that may or may not have some value, what's the rule that you adhere to?
It would be protected, collected, and booked.
All right, when you walked through the crime scene, one of the first things you saw was a Ben & Jerry's ice cream cup and a plastic spoon, correct?
One of the first things that was pointed out to me, yes.
And that was something that was reported in the notes of the previous homicide investigator that he took note of, correct?
Yes.
So obviously, in doing your detailed note analysis, that's something that he deemed important. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know whether he deemed it important. It was something that he noted.
Is a plastic spoon something that is capable of getting latent fingerprints off of?
I would think so, yes.
What about a paper cup?
Yes.
Is there any reason why those items would not be taken into evidence?
Yeah, they didn't appear to be connected to the crime scene from what I saw.
But you didn't know at that time, did you?
They didn't appear to be connected.
But as of today, it's become an issue in this case, hasn't it?
Sustained.
Is there any reason, what effort would it have taken to take those items into evidence?
There would have been no effort if it was deemed necessary. They still, to this day, don't appear to have any connection to this case.
But you don't know that, do you?
Well, I think that's a fair assumption.
Could you determine, perhaps, who was eating that ice cream by finding fingerprints on the cup?
If they were there, yes.
Might that have some importance?
Well, I think it's been determined who was eating ice cream that night.
Might that have some importance, is my question.
I still don't think it's connected to the crime scene. I don't see any importance to it.
So, initially, upon walking into a crime scene, you see something that's potential evidence, you determine by yourself, as an experienced detective, it probably doesn't have anything to do with this, so we're just going to ignore it, throw it out. Is that what you're telling us?
I don't understand that. What do you mean? Are you speaking about a certain item? Or are you speaking about any crime scene?
No,
Or
I'm talking about this specific item.
about the ice cream?
Yeah, you saw it, you didn't think it was of evidentiary value, even though you have told us it could have a fingerprint on it, and therefore, you simply ignored it and had it thrown away.
Sustained or phrase question.
You immediately make decisions, don't you?
Not all the time.
You make them very quickly, don't you?
No, not all the time.
And you're not easy to change your opinion, are you?
No, that's not true. I am.
And if you had to do it all over again, you still wouldn't take that ice cream cup.
Gee, Monday morning quarterbacking is wonderful. I still, to this day, don't believe the ice cream is connected to the crime scene at Bundy.
Your Honor, may this be an appropriate time for a recess?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations without the matter being submitted to you. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you. We'll stand in recess until 1:30, and Detective Vannatter, you may step down. You're ordered to return at 1:30. Thank you, counsel. do you wish to, I suggest we wait for Ms. Clark. And again, Ms. Clark. In our discussions after you left to do some research on that issue we were discussing in chambers, Mr. Shapiro suggested that he would alter his order of examination, and we'll take that matter up first thing tomorrow. But I'd like to put in at least an hour or so, get as much done as we can this afternoon. We're going to go past the 3 o'clock hour.
Right, okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. All right, anything else? Any other surprises? All right, Deputy Magnar, let's have the jurors, please. Members of our jury panel, Detective Vannatter, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good afternoon, Detective. You're reminded you're still under oath. Mr. Shapiro, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Detective Vannatter, over the noon hour, you were requested to find your notes of the activities that took place at Bundy and Rockingham on the 12th through the 13th of June. Have you been able to locate those notes?
I didn't realize I was supposed to do that, but as far as actual physical notes, there aren't any other than the partial statement I was doing on Cato Kalin.
And that consists of 2 paragraphs?
Approximately, yeah.
And that's the extent of what took place as far as recording information by you?
I directed other information be recorded, but yes, that's true.
Now, when you went through your walkthrough at the Bundy crime scene, you told us that took approximately 10 minutes?
Yeah, approximately 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes.
You testified 10 minutes on your direct examination yesterday. Are you more comfortable with 10 to 15 minutes?
That's an approximation, 10.
You weren't keeping any log records of the time you entered the actual scene and left?
No, sir.
Did you check in with somebody at the Bundy address who was keeping such time records?
When I arrived there,
When you arrived and when you walked through, yes.
I signed in on the crime scene log when I arrived, yes.
Would that be something that would be proper to maintain in the crime scene log, how long you spent inside the crime scene?
No.
How long did Detective Lang spend inside the crime scene in his walkthrough?
I believe it was about 15 minutes, approximately 15 minutes.
He was there a little longer than you?
Yes.
And you were not accompanying him at that time?
No, I did not.
You stayed outside on Bundy and Dorothy?
Yes.
And after he finished his walkthrough, did you then immediately go to Rockingham?
It was within a few minutes. We left there at approximately 5 o'clock that morning, yes.
So
We discussed it before we left.
he came out, you discussed it for a few minutes with him as to what he saw,
Yes.
and then the decision was made to go make the notification,
That's correct.
and you left immediately thereafter.
Yes.
Now, according to the logs, Detective Lang arrived at 4:25 in the morning.
That's correct.
And so if he did a 15-minute walkthrough, that would be about 4:40, correct?
If he immediately went on the walkthrough, I'm not sure that that was the sequence of events.
Well, how long did he wait before he went on the walkthrough that you recall?
I really couldn't answer that. I really don't know.
Weren't you concerned with trying to get this thing going and start your investigation?
That's what we did, yes.
Now, don't you now have about 20 minutes unaccounted for when nothing is being done while you and your partner are there?
I don't understand that.
Well, if Lang, according to the chronological record, arrived at 4:25, did a 15-minute walkthrough, spent a few minutes before and a few minutes after, let's say that would make it 4:45, and there's 15 minutes before you leave. Was there an investigation that you people were doing during that 15 minutes of Bundy?
I think part of the investigation is myself and my partner conversing so we know what we have and so we sort of understand what's going on at that point.
And I take it you notified a criminalist at that point because you now had determined it was a bloody crime scene, did you not?
Not at that point, no.
And you notified the coroner because you wanted to clearly ascertain the time of death.
Not at that point.
And you called for a photographer to videotape the entire crime scene in the most undisturbed way, did you not?
The photographer was there when I got there.
And did you direct the photographer to take an overall view of the complete pattern of all the footwear impressions that you had seen?
I believe my partner did that.
And was that done?
Was that done?
Yeah, the photographer do that? Follow those orders?
To the best of my knowledge,
And
yes.
so you have seen a photograph that shows the entire pathway with all the footprints that you intend to talk about in this case?
I believe it does, yes.
And did you call for someone to videotape the entire crime scene?
No, sir, I did not.
And did you call for a light truck to illuminate the area so that you could better ascertain whether or not there might be another matching glove to the one that you had seen by the body of Ronald Goldman?
I did not.
And did you cause a grid search to be done at the location to look for a matching or second glove at that location?
No, I didn't.
As a detective, would you agree that it is important for you to be able to prioritize what you're going to do regarding a crime scene investigation?
Yes.
Some things are more important than others. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're all important. That's a general statement. Everything's important.
But you can't do everything at the same time, can you?
No, I wish I could.
So therefore, you have to prioritize, don't you?
According to what the scene is, yes. Each one is different. Each one has different priorities.
And if you had to prioritize between notifying the ex-husband of a victim and beginning a crime scene investigation, what one of the two would you feel would be more important?
Putting it just in those terms, with the other circumstances left out, I would say start the crime scene investigation, but there were other circumstances that came into play in this.
And how many officers would you use to make a death notification, personally?
That would depend on the circumstances.
And is there any criteria as to who can make a death notification within the Los Angeles Police Department?
As to who?
Yes.
I would think any sworn personnel could.
Now, Commander Bushy is the commander of the West Bureau, is that correct?
He's the assistant commander, I believe, of West Bureau.
And West Bureau does not encompass the robbery homicide division, does it not? Does it?
No,
It does not, I should say.
it does not.
And that order that you heard about secondhand was from Detective Phillips, who was told by Commander Bushy that he should make a personal notification. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
And during the hour and 5 minutes that Detective Phillips was waiting for you, did you ask him if he had gone to make a personal notification?
he told me that he hadn't.
Did you ask him why he didn't? Why he was just deciding to stand out in the middle of the street for an hour and 5 minutes?
No,
Isn't that something that could easily have been done by Detective Phillips, to your knowledge?
that could have been done, but that would not be the proper way to do it without us being present.
What about Detective Furman? Could he have gone with Detective Phillips to make a death notification?
Of course he could have, but it still wouldn't have been the proper way without us being there.
What about Lieutenant Rogers, who was your supervisor? Could he have gone?
Certainly.
He's not a homicide investigator, is he?
No, he's a supervisor.
He's not an investigator, is he?
He's a lieutenant.
Is he an investigator? Is it
By rank or...
is it his job to investigate homicide scenes?
No, it's his job to supervise.
So he from your bureau could have gone and made the notification.
Certainly.
And the 25 other people that were there could have gone to make the notification.
That's correct.
And as far as directions to that location, once you were at Bundy, would you have any difficulty if somebody there said the location that you want to go to is at Rockingham and Sunset, take Sunset about 2 miles and turn right on Rockingham, 3 blocks? Would you be able to follow those directions?
Me personally?
Yes.
Yes.
So you didn't need anybody to take you to that location, did you?
Well, yeah, because we didn't know where the location was, and we thought it would speed up the process. Plus, we needed their assistance,
Well, let's
as
talk
I had
about
explained before.
just where the location was. You've already conceded that if somebody told you to go west on Sunset to Rockingham and turn right, go up 3 blocks, you would have been able to follow that and find that, would you not?
Certainly I could have.
And it's not a difficult location to find, is it?
No,
Not hidden in any way?
no.
And at the time you arrived, you had for the first time met Detectives Phillips and Furman, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you were there to notify them that, or to officially take over, because they had been notified they'd been relieved.
That's correct.
And in police practice, I take it that this is a big case. Would you agree with that?
That's a very subjective term. It's a big case because the press and the media has made it a big case. All homicides are, to me, are big cases.
And that to be involved in a case like this from a detective's point of view is a feather in your cap, is it not?
Not in my cap, no.
And
No.
to be relieved from a case like this would be a tremendous disappointment for a young detective, would it not?
Sustained.
You've also told us that you went over, did anybody tell you you should go to Rockingham to check on the welfare of the children?
That question, I don't follow that question. The children's welfare was not, the children were at West LA Station.
Did anybody tell you to go to Rockingham because the children's welfare was at issue?
No, that was a determination that myself and my partner made.
And so you determined with all the officers in the juvenile division, all the officers at West Los Angeles, all the members available to take care of juveniles, you were going to take it upon yourself to prioritize and put that interest first. Is that your testimony?
That was one of my priorities, absolutely.
You're not a juvenile officer.
No, but I think we went through this once before. I had 2 very young children. that had been taken from their bed, from their home, by uniformed police officers, at a scene that their mother had been murdered at. And that's very, very traumatic for adults, besides thinking about minor children. To me, these children are very, very important people, and they have to be cared for. And to be sitting in a police station is a very traumatic thing for children, and that was very important to me to try and get them with family members.
And I agree with you. But in balancing that against the 25 other officers who were at the scene who could have performed the same function, and you being the only person who could admit people into the crime scene, is it your opinion that others could have equally satisfied the requirement of taking care of these young children who are in such desperate need of being reunited?
I'm sort of lost on the question. Could someone else have done what I did?
Regarding the children?
Certainly someone else could have.
Yes, no one else other than Lang and yourself could have allowed access into the crime scene.
At that point, I would say no.
But yet you chose to leave the crime scene not only with yourself and with your partner, but with the only two other investigators in the homicide area who could have also had some seasoning regarding the entry and exit into a crime scene. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the scene is left now not to be investigated at all, with the 4 people who have expertise in homicide investigations, so you can go do 2 things: notify the ex-spouse of the death and to provide in West LA for the care and comfort of the 2 young children.
Sustained.
Your purpose in taking 4 officers to go to the Rockingham estate was solely for the notification. Is that correct?
Our purpose for taking 4 officers was actually twofold. Number one, they could direct us to the location because Furman had been there before. And number 2, we intended on them helping us with the notification, helping Mr. Simpson to make a disposition of the children, for us to meet Mr. Simpson for a later interview.
Well, this wouldn't be a good time to establish a rapport with Mr. Simpson, would it?
It's as good a time as any time.
So you're going to knock on the door, tell Mr. Simpson you have horrible news, that his ex-wife has just been murdered, and plus, we'd like to get to know you and talk about this, so let's just sit down and talk for a while? Is that what you're telling us, sir?
No, we didn't intend to interview him then. We intended to meet him, go back, do the crime scene, and set up a later interview with him.
Well, you had additional information regarding Mr. Simpson when you went over there, didn't you?
I had information, Detective Furman told us that he had been at the location before on a 415 dispute call, yes.
And he told you that resulted. Did he also tell you that there had been previous incidents of domestic violence regarding O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson?
He didn't tell me that, no. He told me he had been there on a previous incident.
Did he tell your partner there had been previous incidents of domestic violence?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Oh. There could have been some conversation about an 89 incident. What I recall most is he stated that he had been there on a previous radio call and knew where the location was, and that the radio call it was in regards to a 415 family dispute.
You have reviewed the report that's entitled a follow-up report, have you not?
Yes.
And that's really a misnomer because it doesn't follow up to any other report that was done by your Detective Lang, does it?
A misnomer?
When it says follow-up report, doesn't that tend to cause one to think that there was a report before this, that this follows?
Well, there was a report before that. that
Done by
followed.
you and Lang?
Yes.
At the preliminary hearing, you were asked that question. You said there wasn't. Do you recall that testimony?
No, I don't recall saying that, no.
We'll show that to you in a minute. So you're telling me now that it was Furman who gave you the information regarding the domestic violence, is that correct? Or
was-
Lang?
It was a conversation that was had in the street, and I believe all four of us was there. And as I recall, Furman said something to Phillips, and I'm not sure whether it was Furman or Phillips that relayed the information. My information was that Furman had been there earlier.
Do you have any information that Mr. Simpson had previously been arrested? Or just that they responded to a 415?
Well, I think my information is Mr. Simpson was never arrested on that case. I think that's the information.
And isn't it true, sir, that one of the reasons that you wanted to leave the crime scene and go to the Simpson residence was because you had information that there had been previous instances of domestic violence, and you immediately suspected the ex-husband as being the person responsible in these cases?
No, that's not true.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Actually, let me put this up on the Elmo. We've already talked about this. If you want. Do you have a pen? Let me borrow yours. I give you a page copy. Page 880? I just have it. I thought we took this up earlier.
Is this the last sentence?
No, this is on another report.
All right, I don't believe we took that up specifically.
All right, let me approach it another way. If he objects to this, let me ask you this. You have read the murder follow-up report, have you not?
Yes.
And are there any errors or omissions in that report?
Errors and omissions. I'm comfortable with the report, if that's what you're asking me.
And you stand by that report, do you not?
Well, I think it's a general overall view of what occurred, yes.
Well, it's more than that. It's the only recordation that you and your partner have done regarding this case. Isn't that correct?
No.
You'll show us later what other recordations you and your partner have done.
Well, I think I testified earlier that there's been death reports made on both victims and murder reports made on both victims.
I'm talking about the facts surrounding the investigation and the information you had. Are there any other reports along those areas that were done by you or your partner, sir?
Well, there's been reports done through the entire investigation. There's 3 books full of reports.
Well, you'll pull those for us, okay, the ones that you and your partner have done?
Is that a question?
Would you do that for us, please? That's a request. Not now.
There's
Not now.
there's 3 books of reports.
Well, maybe you can do that tonight. Let me draw your attention to the second paragraph and ask you to read that. Read that?
Yes.
And does that refresh your memory as what Detective Phillips told you and Detective Lang?
That's a possibility that he said that, yes. But again, my information is Mr. Simpson was never arrested on that case.
What does your report indicate in that regard, sir?
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. The entire paragraph?
Well, let's read the part of what Detective Phillips told you.
Phillips stated that victim Brown was the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, a well-known athlete-actor. Additionally, Phillips stated that Mr. Simpson and victim 1 had been embroiled in a previous domestic violence situation, one of these resulting in the arrest of Mr. Simpson.
You said in a previous domestic violence situation. Is that what it says, sir?
That's what the report says, yes.
It doesn't say in previous domestic violence situations, plural?
Situations, yeah.
Is there a difference between situation and situation, sir?
One is plural and one is singular, yes.
Is there any significance to that in putting that in a report?
Significance? I don't know, I don't know how to answer that. Apparently, that's referring to more than one incident.
Now, the location that you were going to was Rockingham, is that correct? 360 North Rockingham from Bundy?
From Bundy, yes.
And you came down Rockingham, as you've shown us in that nice video that you prepared, is that correct?
What's the question?
You came down Rockingham when you were going to the house. When you were trying to locate the address of 360 North Rockingham.
We drove north on Rockingham, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
That was my question.
I
I'm sorry.
I didn't understand your question.
You guys have to stop talking over each other here.
I want to make it clear. And when you drove up, you saw a gate and an address, 360 North Rockingham, did you not?
Yes, I did.
Why didn't you park on Rockingham?
I don't know. I followed Detective Phillips and parked behind him.
If you
No,
were looking
no
for...
reason.
I'm sorry. Did you finish?
No reason.
Clearly there was an entrance on Rockingham,
Yes.
and clearly the front door faced Rockingham.
Well, I don't think I could tell that as I drove up the street. I couldn't see the front door.
You could see the front door through the gate, couldn't you?
When I walked over and looked, yes. But when I was driving up, I didn't see it.
Isn't it true, sir, that you were going over to Rockingham in addition to making what you have said is a notification to look for criminal activity?
I think it crossed my mind, not criminal activity. I think it crossed my mind to check on the welfare because of the closeness of the scene and the violence of the scene.
The welfare of whom?
The welfare of the occupants of the home, since there was a tie to the two locations.
And who did you determine were the occupants of the home?
Which home, sir?
The home you were going to check on the welfare of the occupants in.
Mr. Simpson's home.
Well, who were the occupants of that home that you went to check on?
At that point,
Yeah.
anybody that was there.
Well, didn't you have something fixed in your mind when you say you were going to check on the welfare of somebody? Whose welfare were you going to check on, sir?
Mr. Simpson.
Because you were concerned about him, weren't you?
I wasn't so much concerned about him. I had concerns for the children. I wanted to meet him. I was informed that a commander of the police department had ordered a in-person notification. And I knew it was going to be a very newsworthy case. And I thought it best that we make a notification before the press did.
Have you memorized that response? It's about the third time you've given it to us.
Sustained. Curious to disregard that last comment.
Is that the verbatim response you gave at the preliminary hearing?
I don't know.
Sustained. Mr. Shapiro, when I caution you on something, I don't expect the next question to be the same thing.
Thank you, Your Honor. I apologize. My question was, were you concerned with the health and welfare of O.J. Simpson when you went to Rockingham?
Not until I got there. I mean, there's always a concern when you have relatives, but not until other criteria was met.
order to make this notification now, 4 detectives arrive at Rockingham. Before you went there, because of these concerns, I take it you notified the communications department as to where you were going.
No,
Because of your concerns about welfare, I take it that you called for black and whites to meet you there.
after I got there, I did, yes.
Upon arrival, you called for black and whites?
No, after other circumstances were met.
How long did it take for you to call for black and whites?
Probably 15, 20 minutes.
What time did you call for the black and whites?
I didn't do it. I don't know exactly.
Is that recorded in your log somewhere?
No.
You testified that for 10 to 15 minutes, 4 detectives took turns ringing the buzzer that activated a telephone that you could hear ringing from outside. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And would you say that that telephone rings for about a second before another ring comes on?
Ooh, I don't know. There were 5 or 6 rings before it stopped.
Would you say that since you could hear it outside, it would be your opinion that clearly somebody could hear it inside if somebody was inside? Is that correct?
Yes.
And would you say that 10 to 15 minutes is a very long time to ring someone?
At 5 in the morning, I don't know. I don't know whether that is or not.
Have you ever called someone to try to get someone on the telephone and let the telephone ring for 10 to 15 minutes?
I don't think so, no. I don't know for sure.
And the 4 detectives are now taking turns pushing this buzzer device on the gate?
Well, I think there were 3 of us that rang it. I don't ever recall Furman ringing the bell.
Now, Furman's role in coming there was purely to show you how to get there? Is that your testimony?
And assist,
Overrule.
You can answer.
no.
Was he coming as a backup unit for you?
No.
Was he coming to help you investigate?
No.
Was he coming to introduce you to Mr. Simpson?
No.
Was he coming to help you in the notification?
He was coming, we were going to make the notification, he was coming to assist Mr. Simpson if he needed assistance.
And he had volunteered for that?
No, we asked him to accompany us.
You asked him to come with you to help Mr. Simpson in case Mr. Simpson needed some help. Is that correct?
That was part of the reasoning, yes.
And Detective Phillips, why was he coming?
Same reason,
He was coming to see if he would help Mr. Simpson.
yes.
And where in your reports did you indicate that this was your state of mind, sir?
I don't know that I did.
And where in your previous testimony before the grand jury did you indicate this was your previous state of mind?
I think I testified they were there to assist us.
And where in your previous testimony under oath at a preliminary hearing did you indicate the reason they were coming was to help Mr. Simpson, sir?
I again testified they were there to assist us.
After ringing the bell for 10 or 15 minutes, which activated a telephone that you clearly heard ringing, then you decided to try to call Mr. Simpson on another telephone?
That was, yes, after noticing that the place had private security, requested that we get a telephone number from them, yes.
How would that assist you if the telephone that was currently ringing was not being of any value?
We were trying anything to make contact within the residence.
And as a policeman, do you have the ability to get the phone numbers of residents of homes?
Sometimes, not all the time.
Did you attempt to get the phone number of O.J. Simpson through police channels?
Yes.
What police channels did you use?
Contacted the watch commander and asked him to contact West Tech Security to see if they had a phone number for him.
What about the telephone company? Anybody think of calling the telephone company?
Well, if it's a published number, you can get it. If it's non-published, you cannot get it.
So, and even policemen can't get that.
That's correct.
So if you called up the supervisor at the telephone company that services that area and said, this is an emergency situation, identified yourself, we have to get in touch with Mr. Simpson, can you get the phone number? They would not be able to help you
They would tell you to get a search warrant if it was a non-published number
for an emergency.
for anything.
In contacting West Tech, did you ask them to come out to the location?
I didn't contact them. I think the thrust of it was to attempt to find out if there was any travel plans and if they had a phone number.
Did anybody ask West Tech to come out to the location?
I don't know that.
Did anybody check with West Tech as to whether it was Mr. Simpson's habit and custom to notify West Tech every time he went out of town?
Not to my knowledge.
You eventually got another number that rang with the same type of ringing that you were getting from the front door, is that correct?
From the front door?
Well, from the door, I'm sorry, from the buzzer outside the gate.
It was a telephone number that rang, yes.
And it was the same type of ring that you heard that when you pressed the button at the gate.
I didn't make the phone call, but I would say that was probably a good assumption, yes.
And are you aware of getting a recording from an answering machine?
I was told that, yes.
And you were told that the answering machine said, "This is O.J., I'm out of town. I'll be back on Monday"?
No, I don't recall that. I was told that there was an answer, something to the effect, "This is O.J., I'm not home now," or something like that.
You testified at the grand jury that the only response that came on the machine was, "O.J." Do you recall that testimony?
No, I don't.
Did you try to use any type of bullhorn to get Mr. Simpson's attention?
No, sir.
Did you try to flash any lights into the house to get his attention?
Other than shining my flashlight into the driveway, no.
Regarding the lighting in the driveway, you told us that the front door was well lit when you arrived. Isn't that correct?
No, I didn't say that. No.
Aren't there coach lights on the front door?
I don't know that. I recall a light being on toward the front door, someplace inside the residence, and then toward the south side of the house. And then, as I recall, there was one on upstairs that could have been the same light that was illuminating up and down.
How many times have you been to that location?
Twice.
How many times have you seen photographs of that location?
Several times. I don't know.
And it's your testimony that you don't know whether or not there are coach lights at the front entrance?
Well, that's a possibility. I don't recall right now that there are coach lights there.
And isn't it true, sir, that there is a halogen street light at the adjacent corner of Ashford and Rockingham that completely illuminates the front door?
No, that wouldn't be true. The front door is recessed, as I recall. There may be a light there that illuminates part of the driveway, but the front door itself is recessed.
Does it illuminate the area walking immediately up to the front door, the brick area?
I could see up to the front of the house, yes.
And it's very bright in that area because of that halogen light, is it not?
I don't know whether it's real bright. I could see up there.
See clearly?
I could see up there. I could see there was no one there.
Now, at any time, did you give any directions to Detective Furman to conduct an investigation outside the residence?
No,
You're in charge, is that correct?
I'm one of the people in charge, yes.
Detective Lang.
Yes,
The other people are there only to assist you.
yes.
They're working at your direction now.
They're experienced police officers. They don't necessarily work at my direction.
Well, you would not allow them to independently do anything at the Bundy crime scene, would you?
I don't know what you mean by that, independently do.
Any type of investigation at the Bundy crime scene, all they were allowed to do was stand in the street and wait for you to come up. Isn't that correct?
Well, I wasn't there. That was not my order.
And so therefore, you wouldn't allow them to do anything at the Rockingham crime scene, would you, without your direction?
Oh, that's not true. They're experienced police officers.
So they can do whatever they want.
No. That's misreading. Experienced police officers have the ability to work without direct supervision at all times.
So, in your opinion, Mark Furman could do whatever he wanted based on his experience at the Rockingham scene?
Ask me that again, please.
Based on Mark Furman's experience as a detective, which you were unaware of, he had the implicit permission from you to do any investigation he wanted at the Rockingham location.
I think the four of us were working. Yes, we're all police officers.
I want to make sure I have your answer correctly. That Mark Furman had the independent right to do any investigation he wanted at the Rockingham crime scene.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Was it your state of mind, as one of the two lead detectives, that Mark Furman had the right, based on the fact that he was a detective, to do an independent investigation at Rockingham?
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Perhaps, Your Honor,
The problem here is independent.
did Detective Furman have the right to conduct an investigation at Rockingham without your precise direction?
Of course he did. He's a Los Angeles police officer.
And that's what he did, isn't it?
Yes.
Even though he had been removed from this case and told by you that the only thing he could do was at Bundy was to secure the scene and stay outside, now at Rockingham he can do whatever he wants.
Sustained.
He's free to conduct an investigation at Rockingham. Is that correct?
He's there to assist me in the investigation, yes.
Did you hear his testimony, sir?
Yes, I did.
Did you hear him testify that while you guys were ringing the door, he decided just to take a walk down Rockingham?
Yes.
Was that something that you asked him to do?
No, but I don't have him on a leash either.
Yeah,
He's a capable man. He's capable of walking around, and I don't follow him at all times.
Isn't he there to help you?
That was part of his assistance at that point.
It's just walking around?
Sure.
Taking a little walk?
Sure, why not? I did too.
I thought this became a situation where you were really concerned about people's welfare.
This was a situation I was concerned about people's welfare.
Isn't it inconsistent if you're concerned about people's welfare that you'll just simply take a walk?
Well, I'm not sure that he simply took a walk. He walked down toward the Rockford Gate, or I'm sorry, Rockingham Gate. I don't know what his state of mind was when he was walking down through there.
Did he call you over to the Bronco?
He did at one point, yes.
How did he do that?
I was standing in the intersection or near the intersection of Ashford and Rockingham, and I saw him walk a little way toward me from the vehicle and call, "Hey, Phil, come over here."
What were you doing standing in the intersection?
I was standing adjacent or close to Detective Phillips, who was talking with one of the West Tech people.
Where was Detective Lang?
believe he was between me and the intersection and the Ashford Gate at that time.
So you had abandoned your attempts to try to get in?
No, we were working with West Tech, trying to get additional information at that point.
What information were you trying to get from West Tech?
If there were travel plans, if they knew whether there was anyone home, if they had access to the location.
And you had to wait for somebody from West Tech to come out? Couldn't you get that via your police radio and communication system?
Could I have?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. While we were trying to secure that through the watch commander, a West Tech unit drove up. Just drove by the location.
Just
and we
kind of
stopped him.
coincidentally, huh?
Coincidentally, he drove by and we stopped him.
Had the black and white arrived at that time?
I believe it was in the same time frame that the black and white arrived, yes.
When you drove up to Rockingham, did you notice the Bronco initially?
I saw the car parked, yes.
Did you see it parked unusually?
It looked like it was hastily parked.
Hastily parked.
Yeah.
Do you find that people who lock cars hastily park cars?
That's subjective too. I guess that could be a yes or no either way.
How far from the curb was the front wheel of the car, of the vehicle? Yes, it's a truck-like vehicle.
Closer than the rear wheel.
What's the difference? A couple inches?
I don't know.
Did you measure it?
No.
Did you ask anybody to measure it? To this day, from
No.
your photographs?
No.
Isn't it true, sir, that the curb area where there is concrete is 1 foot,
That's a possibility.
and that the tires on the front and the back are both touching that area?
As I recall from the picture, the tire in the back is sitting on the asphalt portion of the street.
How close is it to the concrete?
I don't know.
The fact that it was hastily parked, did that cause you any concern?
Not at that point, no.
Is this something you observed as a policeman?
Something I was driving the car, I would have either had to see the car or probably run into the car, yeah.
Have you described that as the rear end jutting out more than the front in any official reports?
Probably.
And you think that's a fair description?
Well, I think the rear end was sticking out farther than the front end, yes.
Did Mark Furman have a flashlight when he was over at the Bronco?
Mark Furman carried a flashlight on his belt, yes.
What kind of flashlight?
Small stream light,
What size?
a small stream light that was carried in a little leather holder on his belt.
When you had a more powerful flashlight?
Yes.
Did he talk to you when he asked you to come over to the Bronco?
He did when I got there, yeah.
Did he signal you over in any way?
No, he called me over.
What did he say?
Hey, Phil, come here, I want to show you something.
And what did he show you?
He showed me a spot above the door handle.
That's the first thing he showed you.
Well, I had been there previously.
Is that the first thing Mark Furman showed you, yes or no, at the Bronco?
At what point, sir?
The time you were at Rockingham is the first thing that Mark Furman shows you a spot of blood.
No.
What's the first thing Mark Furman shows you?
I walked over there previously. Mark Furman was there. I saw he shined a light, and I shined my light into the back of the vehicle. And then I walked back toward the intersection, and that's when he called me back.
Did he show you into the back of the vehicle? Did he direct your attention to the back of the vehicle and tell you to look at something? Or is it your testimony that both of you simultaneously were at the back of the vehicle, both had your flashlights, and both looked in and saw the same thing at the same time? Is that your testimony, sir?
No, he directed me to look in the back of the vehicle.
What did he do what did he say to you when you came over?
I really don't recall the conversation other than he directed me to look in the back of the vehicle, and as I walked up, I saw a piece of wood lying on the parkway.
Just excuse me for one moment. And what did you see when you first looked into that vehicle from the rear window?
I saw a package, I believe addressed to Orenthal Productions or something like that.
Or something like that?
Well, I don't recall the actual address. It was Orenthal Productions or O.J. Simpson Productions, something like that.
Now, didn't you make a big point of saying it was Orenthal Productions and you knew that meant O.J. Simpson?
Well, I knew that meant O.J. Simpson, yes.
And I take it you took that as part of the evidence in this case?
Well, the entire car was impounded with it in it, yes.
So that package is in evidence?
I don't know that.
You would assume that it's in evidence.
Well, the entire car was impounded, yes.
And everything in it should be in evidence then. Is that correct? Did you see anything else at that time in the back of the car?
Yes,
What'd you see?
a shovel and a piece of plastic, what appeared to be a folded up piece of plastic, and a white cloth.
Let me show you Detective Lang, your report again. That was,
Detective Vannatter.
I'm sorry?
Detective Vannatter.
I said Detective Lang and his report, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, all right.
He's
I
detective.
misheard you.
He's Detective Vannatter.
Yes, I know. I thought
Thank
you
you.
said, I thought you were addressing him as Detective Lang.
No.
All right.
That's Detective.
Yes, I recognize him.
All right, I want to direct you to the report that you have talked about before. That is the follow-up report, and ask you to tell us where in that report it indicates that you observed a shovel in the back of the Bronco.
I think we've had this discussion previously. It doesn't.
And you kind of say that like laughing. Is there something funny about it not being in there?
Nothing at all, sir. It isn't in there.
Is there anything funny about this examination?
Nothing whatsoever.
Did you find any plastic? Did you indicate in your report there was any plastic in there?
No.
Those are important things for observations for a detailed report, aren't they?
If they're important to the case, yes.
In fact, you indicated in that report at that time Detective Furman showed you blood.
That's what the report says, yes.
That's not true, is it?
Well, I was there twice. He showed me blood at one point, yes.
But the report is not accurate and is not consistent with what you've just told us, is it?
The report is an overview of the investigation. It's not a second-by-second account of what occurred.
Well, whether it's second by second, there are crucial things that are not included in this report that you testified to. Is that correct?
That's possible, yes.
And you told us earlier that when you wrote this report, it was an accurate report and there were no errors or omissions in the report, did you not?
Objection, mistakes.
Sustained.
Did you ask Detective Phillips to look around that truck to see if he could find any evidence?
Detective Phillips? No, I did not.
Did you ask Detective Furman to look around that truck to see if he could find any evidence?
No.
Did you ask Detective Lang to look around that truck?
No.
Did you look around that truck
Yes.
after you were directed by someone else?
Well, I walked down there first and then was called over to the truck.
So
yes.
what you're telling me is there are 4 detectives, 2 lead detectives that are there, and none of you examined the truck with the exception of Detective Mark Furman. Is that correct?
He was the first one that did, yes.
And he's the one who discovered the blood drop on the door handle.
That's correct, yes.
Now, you heard him testify that there were blood smears on the bottom of the door, didn't you?
I did, yes.
Did you see those?
I did at a later time. I don't recall him showing them to me that night.
You previously testified you didn't see them, haven't you?
I saw a report that was done by the criminalist. I don't recall seeing him that evening or that morning.
In fact, you previously testified you didn't see any blood on the bottom of the Bronco, didn't you?
That I didn't?
Did not.
I don't recall seeing any blood on the bottom of the Bronco.
And where in your report did you indicate that there was, in addition to a spot on the door handle, that there was blood on the bottom of the Bronco, sir?
Where did I indicate that?
Yes.
Sustained rephrase the question.
Did you indicate it in your report?
I don't know. I would have to read the entire report to tell you that.
Well, I don't want to interrupt the valuable jury time now. Maybe you can do that tonight and read that report and give us that answer tomorrow. We'll go on to something else.
Objection, the motion is strike.
Jurors to disregard the comment.
The time sequence of arriving at Rockingham was at about 5:05.
Between 5:05 and 5:10, yeah.
Then you went to the front gate on Ashford and rang the bell for 10 to 15 minutes.
That's correct.
That takes you to about 5:20 or 5:25.
Approximately, yes.
And at that point in time, Detective Furman starts to walk away from your group.
At what point in time?
Well, I'm going to ask you, at what point in time does Detective Furman start to walk away from the group?
Well, we were all moving around there. We weren't standing in a real tight cluster. We were all moving around.
Well, but he went down Rockingham.
Yes, he did. At one point, I believe when we originally stopped the first West Tech unit, I saw him walking down the street.
What time was that?
Would have probably been around 5:30 in the morning,
That he,
5:25, 5:30.
that he first walked towards the Bronco.
That I saw him, yes.
And the first time that you looked in the Bronco was what time?
Just shortly after that, I walked down there.
Give us an estimate.
5:25, 5:30.
And then you came back.
Then I walked back toward where the West Tech unit was with Detective Phillips.
And how long did you spend there?
Short time, he made a phone call inside the residence and told me that he'd gotten a answer phone.
And that's when you were trying to locate O.J. Simpson.
Still trying to this entire time, yes.
And why didn't you ask West Tech for an emergency number for O.J.?
Well, I think that was the purpose of us asking them.
And didn't they have, in case of emergency, to contact his secretary?
I don't know that. I don't
Because
know.
you didn't ask, right?
I didn't ask, no.
And you didn't ask anyone to ask.
I didn't even know that he had a secretary.
And nobody thought of that question, did they?
I don't think that was asked, not to my knowledge.
And then you went back the second time to look at the Bronco?
I was called back, yes.
What time was that?
Around 5:30.
And how long did you spend at the Bronco at that time?
Not very long, short time. We spoke. Maybe 5 minutes, I don't know. I
That
don't know
takes you to
exactly.
5:35?
Approximately, yeah.
And when you saw that little speck, I take it at that point in time you wanted to check the entire Bronco to see if there was any other blood or any other possible evidence, did you not?
At that point, I was becoming very concerned about the location. And I could see that the vehicle was locked. And my concern at that point was that maybe I had another crime scene or someone injured or hurt.
How could you see the vehicle was locked?
You could see the lock knobs on the door.
What about the rear gate latch? Did you check that?
No, I did not.
So you don't know if that was open or locked, did you?
No, I don't.
What was the difference whether the vehicle was locked or not?
Well,
Did you want to get into it?
No, not
You
at
had
that
no-
point.
You had just come from a bloody crime scene. You are now at the home of somebody who had previously been involved in domestic violence situations. You see a shovel in the back and blood on the car, and you do not want to look in that car? Is that your testimony, sir?
No, my testimony is I was concerned with any possible occupants that may be at the home.
You've already told us that. You were concerned about O.J. Simpson's welfare when you saw that, right?
O.J. Simpson and possibly a maid that was supposed to be there, yes.
And so you voiced that concern to the West Tech people, didn't you? And say, this is an emergency, we've got to find O.J. and the maid, didn't you?
I believe that was related to him by Detective Phillips, yes.
And you asked them to find emergency numbers so you could find O.J. because now an emergency had developed, did you not?
I didn't know.
You asked other officers to do that, didn't you?
I believe Phillips was doing that.
Was doing that?
Yeah.
Do you have any information that he did do that?
Phillips was talking with West Tech. I don't know that he asked him for emergency numbers. I don't even know that they have, to this day, that they have an emergency number on it.
You haven't checked that, have you?
No, I have not.
That wouldn't be something you'd want to know, is it?
At this point, I don't think so.
Your Honor, can you just tell me how long you would like me to continue? I have a lot more material to cover.
A lot more?
Yes.
How about, we talked about two other subject matter
Yes,
areas.
but it's going to take a while to get to those two subjects.
Well, I prefer you go at least to the quarter till.
Thank you.
That'll give us the full afternoon session.
Thank you, I appreciate that, Your Honor, thank you. I take it at that point in time, you immediately called the command post and said, we have a potential emergency situation here, we're going in.
No, I didn't.
Isn't that proper police procedure?
That would depend on the situation.
Well, you've previously testified under oath that you thought there might be suspects related to the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson at the O.J. Simpson residence, have you not?
I was not really concerned with suspects at that time. I was concerned with the welfare of the occupants of the home.
My question was, have you previously testified there may be suspects there?
Well, there could have been suspects there.
No,
I didn't know
question-
what was there.
My question was, have you previously testified there were suspects there?
Like I said, sir, there could have been suspects there. There could have been victims. I didn't know what was there.
And it could have been a murder, another murder scene. You've testified to that previously.
Certainly could have, yes.
And people could be dying there. You've heard testimony to that by other officers, have you not?
Well, that was my feeling, too. That
People
was
could
one of the
be-
possibilities.
People could be bleeding.
Absolutely.
You could have a hostage situation.
That was a possibility.
You could have a kidnapping.
I don't know that that related to a kidnapping. Any possible scenario is possible. It could have been anything. I didn't know what was there.
No, I'm asking about what you or others have previously testified could have been the situation of regarding your state of mind when you were at Rockingham.
Is that a question?
Yes.
My state of mind was I was concerned with the occupants of the home. I was concerned that I could have another crime scene. People could be injured. This could have been an extension of the murders that I had just left. There could be people down. There could be injured people. It could have been any scenario.
So this is where your adrenaline really starts to rush, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know that that's a fair statement with me. I don't have big adrenaline rushes.
No? You've been doing it long enough that...
Well, I don't even think it's that. I don't have big adrenaline rushes.
Must have been a pretty scary situation to go in that location not knowing what was there with your experience. Isn't that correct?
Every situation you go into, you have butterflies because you don't know what you're going into.
And there are people who are specially trained for the situations you've just enumerated, aren't there?
There's people specially trained for tactical situations, yes.
Aren't there people specially trained for hostage situations?
Tactical situations, yes.
Well, I don't know what that means, but hostage situations, I know
Well,
what that
a
means.
hostage situation is a tactical situation.
So we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And aren't there people specially trained if somebody is dying or bleeding? How to save lives. You're not trained in that, are you?
Well, I'm CPR certified.
Are you,
but
are you a paramedic?
No. Excuse me, first aid certified. I'm sorry, I misspoke that. I think to take the time to call someone from another location to come and check that would be a dereliction of duty. I think it was our duty to go in there and look and see if there was something wrong.
Well, you've already been out there for 35 minutes and seemed to be pretty casual about what was going on. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have time to make a phone call with one of 4 officers to call for either a backup unit or call a command post and say, hey, I don't know what we have, but we better get some more support here. We better get some paramedics. We better get some emergency equipment. I really don't know what we have, but I'm telling you, my instincts as a detective tell me it is serious.
We
Did
called
you do
for a
that?
backup unit. We had a black and white vehicle there.
Well, that was already there.
We called for them.
That was before you decided it was an emergency.
No, that was part of the process. That was the emergency came back from a set of circumstances that didn't all occur at one time. And that was a set of circumstances that occurred over a period of time.
So you had a patrol vehicle there.
Yes, that's correct.
Specially trained officers or not?
Uniformed police officers.
How many?
2.
And did you give them any direction at the time they arrived?
I don't think I talked to them when they first arrived. I don't think I actually spoke to them.
You called for them. It was an emergency situation. You had to come out, but you didn't tell them what to do?
I think we're talking semantics. I think you're relating to a tactical situation. I'm talking about an emergency situation. They're 2 different things.
Well, let's say it was an emergency situation that you're referring to. In an emergency situation, you've called for a black and white backup. They come and rush to the location, and you don't tell them what to do, what the emergency is?
Again, I think we're talking semantics. I think what you're relating to is a tactical situation where you know the situation that you have. And you could say that you have a tactical situation that's an emergency if you know you have a suspect, or you know you have a hostage, or you know for a fact that you have someone that's injured. We didn't know all these things. This was a situation that had to be determined.
So you don't believe in being prepared?
I don't understand. I don't believe in being prepared. I think I go into every situation attempting to be prepared.
So at that point in time, did you alone determine that it was time to jump over the wall?
There was a decision that was made from speaking with my partner and the other 2 detectives.
So it was a joint decision by you, Mark Furman, and Detective Phillips?
Mainly myself and Detective Lang.
Well, when you say mainly, did all of you discuss it, or just the 2
Well,
of
we
you
were all
discussed it?
standing there talking. It was a decision that was left up to myself and Lang.
And you both said, let's go in?
Exactly.
And you elected Mark Furman because he was the youngest and the most athletic to climb the wall.
That's part of the reason, yes.
Did he have any protective gear on when he went over the wall?
No, he did not.
Did you have any protective gear on backing him up?
No.
Did any of the 2 other officers, detectives there, have protective gear on?
Not to my knowledge.
Did anybody pull out any shotguns to back them up in case you were going to encounter a suspect or suspects inside?
No.
Did you notify the two uniformed officers to come up and back you up that you're going in now?
I think they were called to the gate to stand by the gate, yes.
They were?
Yes, I believe so.
Where in your report did you indicate that?
I don't know that I did.
Where in your previous testimony have you said that?
I said, I think they were called to the Ashford Gate, or they came over there on their own when we went over the fence.
Are you telling this jury that you did not sit down with two uniformed officers, tell them what the emergency was, and give them instructions to cover your back because you four guys are going in?
They were told we were going in
Did you tell them what to do?
to stand by the gate.
Just to stand there?
Yeah.
Did you tell them to get shotguns, get ready? This is what we've got, guys. This is a potential emergency. You never said that, did you?
No, again, Mr. Shapiro, I think you're confusing an emergency situation with a tactical situation. If I would have had a tactical situation and knew that I had a suspect, or knew that I had a hostage, or knew that I had a murder suspect in there, it would have been handled totally different. This was a situation where I was worried that something had occurred there, possibly like had occurred at Bundy.
So now you're concerned with the health and welfare of O.J. Simpson and the maid, and you're going in to say, where's O.J. and where's the maid, right?
Where is anybody that may be at that location?
Well, you didn't know who was expected to be there, did you?
I had no idea, no.
So you didn't know what you were looking for. Is that your testimony?
I didn't know what if anything had occurred there. That's
So you didn't know
correct.
what you were doing there, did you?
Yes, I did.
What were you doing there?
I went there originally to make a notification, to meet Mr. Simpson. The two detectives were assisting me. Once I got there, the situation changed with the information we had received and the evidence that we saw.
And now you're going in to look for people.
That's correct.
You go to the front door and ring the front doorbell.
Yes,
You get no response.
that's correct.
Do you force entry?
No,
Why not?
because at that point I didn't think it was appropriate.
Wait, you were very concerned at that point in time, weren't you?
Yes, we were making arrangements for a possible forced entry of the place.
Where have you testified to that previously? You didn't tell the grand jury that, did you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Where in your reports did you indicate that you were making arrangements for a forced entry, sir?
I don't believe it's in the reports.
Who did you notify at police headquarters or communications that you were preparing a forced entry?
No one.
What preparations did you make for a forced entry?
Detective Phillips contacted the watch commander and asked him to send a West Tech unit back to the location that we may have to make forced entry into the location.
So for an emergency situation like this, now you're going to have the security of West Tech going in with you. Is that your testimony?
Well, at that point, we had 6 police officers there, sir.
Well, you had 25 standing around the murder scene, didn't you?
Yeah, that's correct.
Did you call any of them over?
No,
They were only 5 minutes away, weren't they?
that's correct.
When you went in, did you start making some noise to try to arouse the occupants?
Yes, we were talking. We were knocking on doors.
Were you yelling?
No.
Were you making your presence known?
Well, I think our presence would have been known. We had flashlights. We were talking. We were knocking on doors. We were moving around the grounds.
You were talking to each other, weren't you?
That's correct,
You were
yes.
knocking, OJ, are you here? Is there any problem? Are you okay? Were you doing those things?
No.
Did you decide where to go? Where 4 officers coming in, virtually unprotected, are going to walk around this enormous estate in the darkness? Did you make any plan as to how you were going to protect yourselves?
That's part of our job, to do things like that. The protection is probably by numbers. There was no set plan.
So you didn't say, one guy will go to this side and I'll back him up, and you and your partner go here, we'll back you up. It's just, okay, guys, let's see what we can find. And you guys started walking around?
I never had the feeling that I was in a dangerous situation at any point. I felt that I may have an emergency situation, but I never felt a personal danger at that location.
Did you want to move quickly?
I don't know that that's true. I was trying to look the grounds over to see if I could see anything on the grounds as I was moving.
Did you tell everybody, let's check the grounds first? Was that your plan?
Well, I think that's just typical police work. As you're moving, you're looking. I was shining my light under the trees and everything to see if I could see anything.
All right, well, first of all, when you come in, right to the right, you see a playhouse. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've been inside that playhouse, haven't you?
I've been beside of it. I don't know that I was inside.
Have you seen people inside it? Is it big enough for somebody to walk into?
Yes.
I take it that's the first place where you'd want to look, inside that playhouse, to see if there was any problem. Is that correct?
We were looking all over the grounds.
So you went in the playhouse, is that correct?
No, I didn't.
Did you open the door of the playhouse?
No.
Did you knock on the playhouse?
No.
Did you just simply ignore the playhouse?
The main concern was the residents at that point.
And all four of you went to the front door of the residence together?
That's correct.
And how long did you stay at the front door?
2 or 3 minutes, something like that.
Ringing the bell?
Ringing the bell, knocking on the door, yeah.
But not yelling or shouting or asking for anyone inside?
No.
And then where did you go?
Myself personally,
Yeah, you.
I walked back out to the driveway and walked north to the east-west walkway that walks along the north side of the house.
Shining your flashlight, looking in the bushes, looking in the shrubbery?
That's correct.
Was
yes.
it dark back there?
Yeah, it was dark.
Was that kind of unnerving for you,
No.
not knowing what you had back there?
I think I testified I didn't feel any personal danger at any time that night.
So there'd be no need at any time for you ever to draw a gun at that location, would there?
I never felt that need, no.
Did you tell anybody to go knock on any other doors? Was there any instruction given by you or Detective Lang as the lead detectives there?
Was that a question?
Yeah.
Was there any instruction?
Right.
No, I think we were working as a group.
Kind of improvising as you went along.
Looking the grounds over, looking for people, yes.
How long did you spend looking in the grounds looking for people?
Well, this happened the entire time we were there. When I was outside, I was looking around.
How long were you outside looking for people?
I don't know exactly. We walked around the side of the house to the back. I was shining my light, maybe 5 or 10 minutes total. I looked the grounds over.
Was that enough time to look everywhere in those grounds?
Well, at some point there, everybody that was supposed to be on the location had been accounted for, and that's when I stopped looking around.
No, but you were looking for people who might be injured.
Again, at a point, people that were supposed to be there were accounted for, and that's when I stopped looking around.
When was O.J. Simpson accounted for? What time?
After 6 in the morning.
What time was he accounted for, sir?
I don't know what time the phone call was made.
You don't have any records regarding what time the phone call was made?
Yeah, there are phone records, yes.
You haven't looked at those?
No, I haven't seen them in front of me.
You don't think that's an important aspect of this case?
I can look at the phone record and tell you exactly what time the phone call was made.
You didn't keep any records regarding what time you did anything at the Rockingham location, did you?
Keep any records as to time?
Time anything happened at Rockingham.
Oh, that's not true.
You did keep such records?
There's a search warrant that indicates items that were found there, yes.
No. Did you keep any records as to what time you did things at the Rockingham location, what time you arrived, what time you went to the Bronco, what time you did everything you have testified to. Are there any such records, sir?
Other than phone records, no.
And isn't that part of good record keeping to make sure that the chronological record is in order for all important aspects of this case?
That's part of record keeping, yes.
Is this a good place to stop, Your Honor?
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon session. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you. Detective Vannatter, you may step down. You're ordered to return at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We will stand in recess as far as the jury is concerned until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I'd like to see counsel on the discovery matters after a short recess. All right, that's yours. Thank you, counsel.